everybody, and welcome to our 365 Live on Thursday, the 10th of September. My gosh, this year is actually steaming ahead now, and we're coming up to December the 21st, which is a specific time in the year where the earth cleanses and people feel like detoxifying and going on fasts and cleaning their bodies as well. So it's the 21st of September, 21st of December, 21st of March, and 21st of June, the solstices and the equinoxes. And you'll find it very easy to detoxify now, and it's a good time to detoxify. Given the COVID experience that we've all gone through, and what I'm hearing, what's coming up soon, I'm hearing also that brucellosis is going to rear its head again. Brucellosis is a rod bacteria, and for those people who have microscopes, it's a straight bacteria that doesn't move. It's a gram-negative straight bacteria, and this is what brucellosis looks like, and you get it from meat and milk from dairy. So I would suggest that in the next couple of weeks, one is very, very particular about animal products that you do consume. But that having been said, humanity has endured all sorts of different bacteria, fungi, yeasts, and now the termed organisms under the virus or viral umbrella, which I think we've demystified completely. So any case, things are rearing their heads again, and we see there's the second wave of the resurgence of the COVID fragment, and in some of the countries, and some countries are lagging behind, and they too are going to have a second and a third wave. But that's okay. So actually more than ever before right now is what I really want to say, is that our DNA must be as powerful and as strong as it can be. It is our army. And if we don't have an intact DNA, it's so much easier for the immunity. It's so much easier for the DNA to get damaged. So the immunity is what will fight off foreign proteins in the body, foreign encoded fragments, bacteria, viruses, fungi, etc. So important right now to make sure that you are consuming probiotics, exercising, following all the lifestyle important things that we need to do, such as getting into the sunshine, bare feet on the ground, being in nature, hydrating ourselves with structured water, water that's in the golden mean spin, equivalent to spring water, so that the body can assimilate it, etc. Consuming the high-frequency nutrients that we all know about, and detoxification, because detoxification is going to actually help the body reset. It's going to help the body get rid of some of these pathogens and some of these wrongly coded fragments that will hang around in the body forever. Now, brucellosis is known will hang around in the body forever. Something like a rickettsia, Lyme's disease, will also hang around in the body forever. And when the immune system goes down, you start feeling ill again, and then you get a bit better, and then you get the immune system goes down again, and you get ill again, and then you get better again, and you're never optimum, you're never 100% well. So we can use this time now, is what I'm saying is too fast, to actually get rid of the unwanted, unrecognizable toxins in the body, including parasites and the pathogens that are not serving us. And I'm going to be ending off and talking a little bit about DNA and emotions, and a little bit about epigenetics, because when I'm talking about detox, I'm not only talking about the physical detoxification, we're also talking about mental toxins and emotional toxins, and even to an extent spiritual toxins. Spiritual toxin will really be when you're not living your purpose, and you know, I'm experiencing pain and discomfort, and yeah, physical dis-ease because you're not on purpose, living your purpose. So that would be an indication of a spiritual toxin, I think. So we should be fasting. We should be doing 24-hour fast once a week, and then like a 3-week fasts, moving up towards the 21st of the 4 months that I mentioned to you. It's much easier then because you're working with the flow of the earth. So it's important, and I really want to stress this, that we do detoxify, because if we don't, we get this accumulation, and an accumulation of toxins. Those of us who run quantum devices will know that a set of emotional toxins, mental toxins, anxieties, etc., are often enhanced and attributable to toxicity in the body. So we were speaking about this morning in the pharmacy, sometimes it's a chicken and egg as well, because if you, for example, have depression, there are certain toxins that depression will attract, and there's certain mental toxins that are also going to be associated with depression and diseases. So it's never really in an isolated space. There's no recipe, there's no pattern. You could take any emotion for that matter, and you could then find a whole series of emotions linked to it, toxins linked to it, and parasites linked to it. So it doesn't really matter. The thing is, they all need to go. And the higher we raise our vibration, the easier it is for us to let go of the trivialities, the smaller, inconsequential things that should not be bothering us and actually blocking our transcendence, if you like. So yeah, we can really do a lot of work physically, and then a lot of work emotionally. And this is what I really like about the Eastern way of medicine, is that they will automatically work on emotions first, the chakras, the meridians, and get all of that right, and then follow on with the physical detox. Whereas in the West, we will do a physical detox first, and sometimes bother about the emotions, not always, but we need to have that good match between clearing out on the physical side and on the emotional side. So something like acupuncture is absolutely perfect and ideal, because it does that. It will, where you put the needles are on physical areas, and then you work also with the needles on the emotional space, and it happens automatically together. So just nice and important and interesting things to work through. We spoke a little bit earlier this week about the DNA, and I'm just going to share a small PowerPoint and bring some research into this, and then we can discuss it a little bit further on. And really focusing on our DNA here and our immunity, specifically because I think we've got a bit of a rough ride now until the end of the year, and it's always useful. Forewarned is forearmed, and I don't think actually any of us can let up right now on our immunity, our DNA, and detoxification. And don't forget, we need the nutrients, because we need the right proteins to come in order to build the body. So let's just have a look and see how we can match all of this together. And looking specifically at the genetics, where we focusing on RNA, DNA, chromosomes, genes, telomeres, and now I'm going to talk about a lot of those. I showed this slide earlier this week. This is from our quantum device, and in the matrix I sorted and looked at chromosomes, and I just wanted to share some of the things with you that can go wrong and that we need insofar as an intact nucleus of the cell, intact DNA, chromosomes, telomeres, etc., etc. And a lot of you know, and I've spoken many times also about almost gold, the alchemical elixir that is available. And I've also spoken several times about replica RNA and DNA and those specific nuclear proteins. and the importance of them to have these building blocks in our body, and the importance of having something like an ormus where the allows the DNA strand to unravel. And we're going to be having a look at stress and toxins on the DNA strand, and emotions and what it does too. So over here, there's certain things that are going to damage the DNA. So free radicals from smoking, from chemicals, insecticides, pesticides, etc., will have an effect on the coding of our genetics and on the cell, as will radiation have an effect. Radiation actually breaks off the normal human genetic coded fragments. It actually breaks them up because of the power of the radiation. So toxins, including parasites, you can see here viral infections, all sorts of things are going to cause premature cellular aging, which is a problem. And that's where we like to bring things like antioxidants in, because an antioxidant is going to go and scavenge free radicals, okay, before they damage the DNA in the heart, etc. And when the DNA is under threat, you must just know that it calls on the immunity to help. So if the immune system is low, it's not going to get that much help. And then, of course, the wrong coding can take place, and that can carry on forever. So here's some enzymes. An ASE always means an enzyme. So a DNA enzyme, which needs to be balanced, realigned. RNA, DNA here, again, metabolic disorders, got to do with there's perfect ancestral guilt. So this is showing us, when I selected chromosomes, that emotions have a direct effect on our RNA, our DNA, our chromosomes, and our genes. Some of these emotions cause the DNA to tighten. The proteins around the DNA to tighten the DNA. So the gene might be there, but it's silent. It's not switched off. It's just silent, because so now we need to do calming, creative things to unravel that protein and allow the gene to express itself again. And just some other interesting things here as well. There's radiations and chemicals. There's a flu, Shanghai flu, that affects the DNA. Cytosine is one of the nuclear proteins, as is thymine, as is cytosine. I said cytosine already, sorry. As is adenosine, guanine. And what's missing here is uracil, a very important nuclear protein, and that's for the RNA. Anyway, vitamins, antioxidants, they all help build RNA, DNA, chromosomes. You see, these enzymes are so important as well. And remember, there's another enzyme. Enzymes are... generally, we get enzymes from fruits. I'm just saying that's where the enzyme, we will be able to ingest enzymes. It's mainly from fruits. And I'll just see anything more down here that's of interest. I don't want to spend too much time here, except to show you that, you see, there's an enzyme again. And this is an enzyme restrictor or DNA snipper, biowarfare variation. What does that mean? What is biowarfare? Genetically modified organism. It's GMO, it's mentally assembled. And there we have a restrictor, a DNA snipper. So this kind of little fragment will enter through the body, through the respiratory or the skin, and enter freely into the cell, because it's normally made of cell contents, and then get into the nucleus of the cell and start a replication process, which is a SNP process. And then you're going to get a multitude of diseases. So this is how this all happens, you see, and the damage. And then I just want to show you on the amino acid panel where we can balance the uracil, adenine, guanine, cytosine, thymine. So this is where I can see the direct effect of replica RNA and DNA, and the levels that we have. They should all be close to 100. And this is how we can check that we've got the right proteins. And then we've got a beautiful panel on a quantum device as well, where we can actually go and restore the DNA, all 23 pairs of chromosomes, and all the gene foci that are associated with it. So this is enormously powerful. And as you can see from the slides before, that we are subject to damage. The DNA is subject to damage on a daily basis. So we're born with potential damage in the genome, and then the epigenome, the environmental effects on our genetics kick in also on a day-to-day, everyday life. So we've got a genome and an epigenome. So the genome would be inherited disorders from other environments and chemicals, etc., and manifesting in various diseases, which then we get born, and those diseases manifest earlier because we've inherited that genetic disorder, and even more affected by the epigenome of the environment right now. So, and those toxins, just remember, are not only physical, chemicals, etc., heavy metals and radioactive nuclear toxins and biowarfares. They are also emotions, but it's all interlinked. This particular slide I have also from our device, and this one is talking about the telomere. So the telomere is at the end of the chromosome. So a chromosome is a double strand. A DNA is a double strand helix. At the end of the two strands, there's a little shoelace type of a telomere. And the length of those telomeres will determine our health, the health of our genetics, and how long we live. So it's very important that whatever we do is contributing to growing those telomeres. We don't want short shoelaces, we want long ones. So this here is all about the cancer genes. And the scarlet fever, biowarfare, that's again genetically modified organism causing a disease. And so on. So what I wanted to really just, as I say, concretize for everyone is the human genome is our entire treasury of human inheritance. It is our blueprint. And it's just subject to damage all the time. And there's some research here about people that first talked about our genetic heritage, 46 chromosomes, etc., 3 billion base pairs of DNA that contain about 20,500 protein coding genes. So do you know how much can go wrong so easily? You can walk through an X-ray machine at the airport and it can trigger a shift. Just that bit of radiation can trigger a shift in your duplication of your cells, because they're replicating at such a fast rate that an exposure like that can easily trip the thing and cause a wrong coding. So that's what's so important for us to actually do, like housekeeping on our bodies, to make sure that we are detoxifying on a quantum level and as well as on a physical level, and allowing the body's innate ability to restore and heal all the time. So these codings make up less than 5% of the genome. 5%. Now, we don't really know. We're not sure about the remainder. They call it junk DNA. I don't believe that at all. But it's as far as we've developed evolutionary-wise. And here's a quote. Every genetic illness is a mismatch between an organism's genome and its environment. In some cases, the appropriate medical intervention to mitigate a disease might be to alter the environment. So very interesting. Now, the environment, again, it's not only toxins in the environment. It can be your job. It can be the family situation, friends. It can be an environment that's not conducive to intellectual stimulation, not enough academic stimulation, not enough nature. So one thing we can do is examine our environment. And our body is so sensitive to all these things. So let's look a little bit at, we know now that parasites and toxins and radioactive substances and genetically modified organisms, etc., we know that they damage the DNA. We've seen it, and there's enough conclusive evidence. The quantum devices also confirmed it. But now when we look at the emotional aspects, And I said also it's a chicken and egg because we don't really know what came first. Insofar as our ancestors are concerned, for example, what caused the diabetic disease to emerge? What caused the genetic snip or damage to that encodement that allowed diabetes to manifest? Was it an emotion or was it a physical incident? We're not sure. So when we're feeling positive emotions, love, peace, compassion, our DNA responds by relaxing and unwinding and strengthening our immune system. When we have negative feelings, fear, anger, hate, our DNA contracts and tightens, weakening the immune system. So here we have a good example of, let's say an example who drinks green juice every day and has boxes full of supplements and nutrients and etc., 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 but they can't get rid of their fear or their hate or their anger. They can have as many green juices as they want to. They can, have as much folic acid or zinc that they want to, but they will never really unwind the DNA and unravel the DNA and let the nervous system operate properly and strengthen their immune system. There's always going to be a weak link, you see. So emotions are really, really critical in terms of our health. And here we also have some latest research showing that every emotion you have sends a vibration through your body. These vibrations influence which of your genes will be activated. And this is, those of us we're in energy medicine, electromagnetic energy medicine. We know about these things. There's a cellular vibration attached to every emotion. Never mind the constricting of the DNA. And so emotions that are linked to fear and stress will activate those genes. And you know what? You activate them enough, and then we cause damage. It's like when you have anxiety for a long enough time, or a mental issue that you chew on for a long enough time, you almost carve a road in your brain that goes up and down, up and down. Eventually, it's too difficult to ever get rid of that negative emotion that you constantly feeding off, affecting other people with, or whatever. It almost becomes a permanent chemical imbalance. And this is the Professor Rebecca Todd at the University of British Columbia. And she says that people really do see the world differently. And it depends on this gene variation. And for some people, emotionally relevant things stand out much more than others. And for other people, as I was saying in the beginning, the trivialities of life are just too important. They're overwhelming. And for other people, they don't even notice them. And, our job as therapists, quantum therapists, is to understand all this and actually help people and give them the strength. If it is one of these people that are stuck on the trivialities, to give them the strength to surrender and let go of these things, because we see and we can help them see that, by surrendering, they're going to stop blocking their own transcendence, their own movement forward in life, if you like. So very interesting if we can, in a logical way, present this kind of information. And she actually names this gene, which influences the neurotransmitter norepinephrine, noradrenaline. And this is just one person's research. There's lots, but she says that she found that the carriers of a deletion variant of this gene showed greater attention to negative words. And I'm going to show you just now how these deletions happen and how genes get switched on and off. And I've got a feeling, in the same way as we can carve a chemical imbalance in the brain on a permanent level, we can carve a negative environment or genetic coding in our own bodies as well through these emotions. And of course, it's helped by toxins, parasites and heavy metals, mercuries, etc., uranium, plutonium, GMO. So if we're aware of these things, you see, we can get into infrared saunas. and we can help our bodies. We can fast for 24 hours a day, 1 day a week, and put our body through that complete an arrest where it can just clear. And you know, it's amazing how willing the body is and how it wants to restore the body back to natural, normal homeostasis, harmony. All right, so she used her latest research to use brain imaging to find out how the genes affect how vividly people perceive the world around them. And the results were startling, she says. I've copied a little bit more. She says the genes influence how sensitive you are to emotional information. This is another UBC neuroscientist. No, I think it is her. And she says that certain carriers of genetic variation perceive positive and negative images more vividly and at a heightened activity in certain brain regions. So they've really studied this. You know, this is working on also bordering on neuroplasticity, where we can start regrowing these areas in our brain that I was speaking about. And we can do a whole talk next week, I think, on epigenetics and neuroplasticity. It's amazing. And I mean, products like lion's mane, medicinal mushroom, will regrow brain stem cells. The research is there. It's really amazing how we can actually restore ourselves, and we have the means to do it. So this man, Adam Anderson, emotions are not only about how we feel about the world, but how our brains influence our perception of it. Now, if our brains are full of plaque, full of blastomycoses, funguses, parasites, uranium, plutonium, if the hypothalamus is kind of switched off because the liver's blocked and the brain's blocked and it's not getting signals to release certain hormones, etc., then it's going to, that's in its own self is going to affect how we see the world and our energy levels and our our battery. So as our genes influence how we literally see positive and negative aspects of our world more clearly, we may come to believe the world has more rewards or threats. And this is what I find every single time when I detox and clear somebody and they fast and they do the saunas and we give them loads of oxygen and we give them almost gold and we give them the replica RNA, DNA, and we give them microbiome reset, the live probiotic, and we give them the building blocks like I have in the stress defense shield where there's over 30 nutrients. We see the shift. Those things that they complained about and their negativity and their abrasiveness. Some people are neurologically just abrasive. They're too tense. Completely disappears. The calmness happens. We see the influence on the blood under the microscope. We see them, the words that they start using. You know, the daughter-in-law that's bothering them doesn't bother them anymore. So we know we can influence this. We know we can. There's no reason that we can't. We just have to give the body the opportunity. And then, as I say, I believe that as the vibration rises and as the battery gets more charged, those trivialities do not bother us anymore, can't bother us. And as the parasites leave and the toxins leave, the emotion goes as well. And maybe much easier also to surrender to the emotion. So this lady, Todd, points out that there are also benefits to carrying a gene variant. People who have the deletion variant are drawing on an additional network in their brains, important for calculating the emotional relevance of things in the world. In any situation where noticing what's relevant in the environment is important, this gene variation could be positive. Noticing what's relevant. This is the key thing here. What's trivial and what's relevant? And how many of us are stuck in the trivialities? So thoughts affect our DNA. Stressful thinking, we've seen it. It can, obviously it's going to shorten our lifespan because it's going to constrict the DNA. It's going to carve weird pathways in our brain. And, you know, these changes, we can measure them. Researchers can measure them, but we can also, straight on the quantum skio eductor QUEX that we have. So awesome that we can do this. Here's something now, because mindfulness and meditation are two ways used to use thoughts to keep the telomeres intact. So this is, again, focusing on the East, because very much in being in the present, being operating from a position of contentment, removing the desire and the greed that is so much in the West, but more, from a position of contentment where you're aspiring, you're grateful, you have the patience. And this kind of meditative space, meditation that we're using will keep the telomeres intact, keep them long. Keep the helix, the double helix of the DNA in the right coil, not too tight, not too loose. And they looked at breast cancer patients and found that those who did mindfulness meditation kept their telomeres longer, while the control group who did not meditate had the shortened ones. So just very interesting. And then, as I said in the beginning, we've got the genome and the epigenome. So the genome is our inherited one. The epigenome is the effects in our everyday life. We're not living in forests next to spring water where we meditate all day. We're not. So that's not how we evolve. We evolve to be living the life that we're living, and we need to live in this chaos, and we need to understand the chaos and get the chaos to work for us, because as Fidget Capra talks about, any paradigm shift, any shift is created by chaos. We get the order, we get the feedback, the pattern emerges, and we get order again, and then we get chaos. The pattern emerges, gets fed back, and then we get chaos again, whether we like it or not. That is how we evolve. Okay, so let's keep ourselves in a perpetual harmonic renewal state, where we're learning, we're undergoing initiations, trials and tribulations of life. Of course, we need to meet our challenges and learn the gift, surrender to those challenges, and then take the next quantum step up, because this is what it's all about. We have everything working with us. We have very positive nuclear fragments. Okay, some people call them viruses. These are very, very positive, an enormous amount of these nuclear fragments that infiltrate down and around us all day long, that are shifting our DNA, whether we like it or not. Okay, but let's detox the toxic ones out. Let's not get stuck on them, accept they're there, but they're not here to stay, is what I'm really saying. So just know that the exposure to these toxic ones causes epigenetic changes, altering the way the proteins bind to the DNA, very important, or changing the structure of the proteins that wrap around the DNA. And that's what I say to you. So these proteins are essential, and they're the ones that can dictate whether those genes are silent and not operating because they're too tightly constricted or loose enough to operate. And these nuclear proteins are the in the replica RNA DNA, those 5 I spoke about. And we look at nature versus nurture, where you have, for example, the 2 identical twins. And because of epigenetics, it doesn't mean to say that they're both going to have a heart attack at 60. One might have a heart attack, the other one might be running marathons. So it shows you there is an innate ability to heal or not destruct. So this is just a little bit of theory really here, but the genes express themselves. A genetic clip, if you like, out of the whole chromosome will express when it's transcribed into RNA, and then it's translated into the protein by what they call a ribosome. And then these little proteins determine the cell's characteristics and function. So there's about 200 different cells in our body, just for interest. So how do we settle all of this? As I started in the beginning, is we do want this balanced lifestyle. We all know about it. We do know that. We also mostly know about nutrition. We know about hydrating the body. We know generally about breathing. Not too much about breathing out, which falls into the detox space. So we do need to focus on breathing out. We need to focus on our elimination pathways, our detox organs, all 5 of them: skin, liver, lung, kidney, gut. And we don't want lymphatic buildup either. We know we need to do the exercise, etc., the meditation, the mindfulness, the present state. And and I just think that the best common, practical, logical way of doing this is to get an Excel sheet, literally 365 days of the year, if you like, break it down into days, weeks, months, quarters, biannually and annually, and write down in there what you're going to do, what boost you're going to give yourself, or what you're going to give up, or what you're going to include from a lifestyle point of view, a nutrition point of view, and a detox point of view. You might detox once a week for 24 hours, but once a month you might do, I'm just talking randomly, for 2 days. But biannually you might do a week. Annually you might do, I don't know, 10 days, whatever is your appetite. But you can fit this in, or you can go on a detox week or 2 weeks to some very lovely place where you can breathe in, breathe clean air, exercise, pull yourself towards yourself, go internally. Because this is the other thing I find anyway, is that so many of people are looking out there for solutions. They want to pay this one to do that. They want to pay for this course to do that for them. And they want to leave the country and go to another country even. You know what? Your trouble's going to go with you. So we have to take a firm stand and deal with whatever is bothering us. And just see the light, actually, and put in certain steps in place so that we can avoid a downward spiral, because it's so hard to re-spiral up once a downward spiral is in place. I'm sure you've seen that, especially with people that come see you and so on. So yeah, this is the most important thing. Let's accept there's toxins out there of any level, and let's work towards building ourselves up physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so that we can ward all of these things off. And face our challenges more productively, if you like, and constantly be building on our purpose. Because there's a lovely book by Sir John Templeton, and he was a stockbroker in the UK, and he had this epiphany one day when he realized that the golden mean is right in the middle of the DNA, and this unfoldment of the DNA by living our purpose is where the creativity and the manifestation of life happens. It's really beautiful. Sir John Templeton. And, this is the image that I have in my mind the whole time, is about restoring the golden mean spin, the golden mean electron spin. And so I hope that, I've inspired you, and that you're ready for action. And the positive outlook insofar as whatever comes your way, really. Feel it, live it, understand it, thank it for coming, and move into the new space. You'll be surprised at the collective energy that moves with you when you do that. We need to witness our situation, and be in control all the time. Witnessing actually means almost removing ourselves out of the situation and looking in, and then piecing everything together. And in that way we can really restore our DNA and also build on it. I don't know if anybody has got anything to add to that, but that's what I wanted to share with you this evening. On a much bigger, more vast, expansive space, and to bring a positive element into everything that we're doing, because we saw it's going to either wind up and tighten our DNA, block the good chemical serotonin release from our brains, even, if you like, and dry us up on every level, or we can choose the opposite. But it is by design. It's about our choices that we make every day of the year, 365 days of the year. It's about our choices. Yeah, so that's what, as I said, what I wanted to share with you, and let's take it out there and share with others. Thanks so much, everyone. If you want those products, you can always look on 365healthybychoiceshop.com and read all about them and enhance yourself on those levels. Okay, ciao everyone.